Do you want to set up your very first 20-gallon aquarium? In this quick guide, I'm going to go through and show you exactly what you need to set up your very first aquarium, from the tank, the filter, the light, all the way to the plants. We're going to add the fish in another video. If you want to go through in a quick guide, this is the video for you. So without further ado, let's go through and scape this 20-gallon together. All right, so let's jump into it. You're gonna go through and go to the store and purchase the correct tank size that you want to go through and have in the area that you can fit it in. I have this in my studio. It's a small little office in my home. Maybe you're looking for the exact same thing. 20 gallons are probably the best for small locations in your home. So go look, find a tank that you want. It could be rimless. Rimless are more expensive, or you can go with a rim tank. They're more cost effective. So I went through and purchased the rimless tank, and then I went through and painted the back end of it. So just as we go through, you'll see that starting to populate, me going through and how I painted it. But basically, you're gonna pick out your tank. You do need to, in the same time, pick out your filter. So you wanna pick out a filter. If you wanna go look at my filter guide, check the filter guide out, picking out the right type of filter for your aquarium. For this one, I did the Fluval 207. The 107 works just fine as well. And then the lighting. So you can go with the more cost-effective lighting if you're starting out. Remember that beginner phase, you're not knowing if you're gonna get into it too much, but trust me, you will. You can go with cheaper brands, Twin Star, Hager, those brands are very cost-effective and they work well. I went with Chihiros on this one. It creates a higher lighting for the density of plants that I have within this tank in terms of reds. So that's what I did for this tank. Then you also need to pick out your hardscape. So I went through and picked out my ghost wood. So it is ghost wood in the back. And I also picked out the stone for it. And the stone for this is elephant stone. So once you've gone to your store, you purchased your tank, the tank that you wanted. You went through and purchased your filter, your light. You can order this all on Amazon as well. And I'll have all the links below too. And then you picked out your hardscape. And then you need your substrate. So your substrate is going to be whatever type of capping layer you want, something that's aesthetic, nice. I did the UNS Bora sand for this scape. And then you'll also need, below this capping layer is a substrate. So you want a nutrient-dense substrate that feeds your stem plants as well. So we'll talk about that, and I'll show you how I went through and did all of that. So that's your shopping list. Can't forget, one last thing, your plants. So make sure you're picking out some plants. You'll see the names of all of these plants in this video that I used for the smaller scape. You have to be conscientious of plants and the size that they grow out to for smaller nano tanks like this 20-gallon. But now let's get into the actual scape itself. All right, so what I like doing is painting the back of the aquarium. I already pre-painted it. I didn't want to have to film it, so I went through and painted it a blue. The blue it is in my description. You can see it here as well. It was already pre-painted. Then I flipped it around. Now, what I highly recommend is if you're just first starting out is definitely going through and doing a pre-scape. You want to see how your build will fit in this aquarium that you just purchased. So what you're going to do is put everything in there and start scaping it out the way you think it should look. Be wary though, it's glass, so you don't want to drop anything on there. I put the bottom topper on here. You can also get some foam just to help it so you're not scratching the glass. So again, be aware, but highly recommend, if you're watching this, pre-scaping before, if you're just starting out in the hobby. All right, now that the pre-scape is done, let's go through and add the most important part of the aquarium, which is the nutrient-dense substrate. So I use Aquatop soil for this, Aquatop pond soil, no, Aquascape pond soil, you'll see it in the description, as my nutrient-dense substrate. So what's gonna happen is when you start go through and placing this on the lower level, on the main, this is your first layer of your cake, what that's gonna do is feed your stem plants. Any rooting plants is gonna help feed those and grow faster. That way it can also take nutrients from your water column, which helps that cycle of the tank and break down of any of your nitrates and nitrates in your aquarium. So definitely nutrient-dense substrate, hyper important. So I'm going through and placing this and scaping it and laying it out so it goes from the front to the back higher, because you want the back end of the tank to be higher, so you're creating a depth within the tank so the tank seems deeper than it actually is. All right, now that I've done that, what I'm going to go through is start laying out some of my hardscape. So I do need to glue my wood down, so I'm going to need to figure out how this space is going to work with that wood as I'm re-adding things in. So what I'm doing now is actually going through and gluing that wood to a piece of rock that I have, which is the elephant stone, and I'm going through and gluing that down. Once I have that in place, I'm going to go through and scape the rest of it in terms of getting the hardscape in the 3 areas. I'm going to have a left, a middle, and a far right, creating that visual 3s that we all know is a golden rule of going through and scaping this. Alrighty, now that I have my 3 main areas, I need to add some more nutrient-dense substrate to the back pockets, because that's mainly where my stems are going to be now that I have the space figured out. Now once that's done, what we're going to go through and need to do is we need to go through and actually cap down our nutrient-dense substrate. So you want to cap this nutrient-dense substrate down because you don't want it floating up into the water column itself, because that's how you're going to get an algae breakout, right? That nutrients is in the water column. It's going to be fighting to pull all that nutrients in. Your plants are. That's when algae starts to break out. So we're going to go through and cap this down. Now that we have it capped, it's time to go through and place our lovely plants. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start placing our foreground plants and any of our epiphytes. Now that we have our foreground plants and epiphytes, I like to fill the tank up before I place the stems. It just makes me see that space a lot better and how we're placing our stems. So let's go through and fill up the tank. All right, so now that we have the tank filled up, what we need to go through and do is start placing our stem plants. So you're gonna see the stem plants that I chose for this aquarium. I chose some reds, I chose some greens to really make specific areas pop. So that's what we're gonna go through and do. Wow, so this build turned out so good. Hopefully you all enjoyed this quick guide. There will be a full step-by-step guide coming out really shortly, or if it already came out, it's gonna be up here, or maybe I think it's up here. I don't remember how this thing flips around, but check out the full step-by-step guide if you're looking for the full tank build itself in depth. That will be coming out. And if you found this informative, please take this moment to comment, ask questions. And if not, well, then no. But if you did and you watched this and you're looking for more videos, subscribe and take this moment to like or maybe even comment. And until next time, I'll see you all on the next build.